Welcome, and thank you for joining us for today's DealerOn webinar. Likes don't pay bills, sales do. Strategies that reach more and sell more. My name is Eliana Raggio, and I'll be your moderator today. And today's webinar is being presented by DealerOn. For anyone who isn't familiar with DealerOn, well, we're an award-winning website development company and digital agency, and we're best known for our amazing SEO, the absolute best customer service, and the highest converting website designs in the industry, including the brand new Chameleon responsive website platform. We're so committed to lead conversion, optimization, and customer service that DealerOn is still the only company in the industry to offer a money-back lead guarantee program. So does your website company guarantee you a 50% lift in leads or your money back? Well, then maybe you should check us out at our gorgeous brand new DealerOn website at DealerOn.com. And we have a great show in store for you today. We're very pleased to have Bill Wittenmyer as our presenter today. Bill Wittenmyer is a partner of eLead1, the leading dealership software provider in today's automotive market. Bill has over 20 years of experience in the automotive space and currently manages multiple divisions within the organization, including sales, marketing, OEM relationships, and large client accounts. Prior to joining eLead1, Bill spent several years in the automotive retail space holding various retail positions in operations management. Highly regarded as a dynamic and motivational speaker, as well as an industry leader with non-traditional views, Wittenmyer speaks at several prominent automotive forums each year and contributes to top news publications and television business shows that reach industry business leaders across the U.S. Bill can be reached at billw@eleadcrm.com. Now, during the presentation, if you have any questions, please use the question feature located on the corner of your screen to submit them. At the end of the presentation, we'll answer those questions of general interest. If we're unable to get to your question live, don't worry, we're going to try and respond to you by email later today. Also, don't forget, a link to download a copy of this webinar recording will be emailed to you later today for your reference. Please feel free to share it with your friends and colleagues. And guess what? Our friends at eLead1 are giving away a fantastic prize today on the webinar. One of you lucky webinar attendees will win an iPad mini. It's valued at $500. You heard me. Only one of you lucky webinar attendees is going to be scoring this totally cool prize today. You have to be on the live broadcast to win it, though. All you have to do is stay tuned for details after Bill's presentation, and you could be the one scoring this awesome prize today. Also, at the conclusion of the webinar, you're going to receive a short survey. So fill it out, because we're always looking for quality feedback from you, our valued audience. Today, we're going to randomly select a couple of people from all those completed surveys to also win some Google prizes. And hey, do you tweet much? Well, I hope you do. We'd love to see what you have to say about today's presentation. So please tag us in it. I'm at hashtag DealerOnWebby. I'm at Eliana Raggio. And Bill is at Billy the Kid Witt. We look forward to seeing what you're saying. So let's get started. Let's hear more about likes don't pay bills, sales do, strategies that reach more and sell more. Bill Wittenmyer, how are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. You know what? I love it when somebody comes to my show and they've been here so many times. It's always nice to have a really, really great presenter back on the show. So thank you so much for doing this with me again.
Well, you're far too kind. Thank you and DealerOn for having me. I really appreciate it. And I know in your world it's the afternoon. Out here on the West Coast it's the morning. So I always have to clarify that because then people think, he said good morning, it's 12:06 or whatever it is. So anyway, just on the West Coast. So always glad to be here. Really looking forward to it. And our good friends at DealerOn for always providing these great forums.
I really appreciate it. And I got to tell you, your topic that you take, your title, I should say, it's, how can I say, it's going to ruffle some feathers maybe a little bit. But I'm interested to hear because a lot of people are really, really interested and they're, looking at that shiny ball in the corner that has, social media, and they're concentrating on that. But you're saying stop being distracted by social media.
I really believe that. I love social media. I think it's a great avenue, but the thing is, it's social media for a reason. It's not business media, and I think that's the one thing we have to keep in mind. And there's a lot of great things out there. Social media is certainly one of them. There's a lot of value to it. What I really want to do is make people just think a little bit at the end of the day. There's nothing better than creating those thinking opportunities, whether you agree or disagree. But as long as you're thinking and then you execute, those are the two great things that can come out of this one way or another.
I love it. Okay, so I see the objective slide on the screen. Why don't you tell everyone the kinds of things we're going to be learning about today?
Yeah, we want to look at some objectives today, using today's technology to engage consumers in a way they want to communicate, sales tactics that will help increase productivity, communication strategies that will help retain customers, and of course, the biggest thing is really selling more cars. What can we do? There's so much technology out there, social media being one of it. I mean, where do we want to focus our ad dollars? Where do we want to focus our concentration for true execution and productivity? And of course, great question and answer session we'll have coming up as well. So thank you everybody for coming in today. I want to talk about a couple of things. Obviously, likes don't sell and don't pay the bills. Car deals do. So we really want to concentrate on some freebies that I'm going to give out today, and hopefully you'll pick them up along the way. We all know social media is not going anywhere, right? I mean, it's a really big thing. It's here to stay. It's a great thing. It's only the names that are going to change. When people get together, they talk, and sometimes it's about you, sometimes it's about your competitors, and social media is great. Some social media may not be. Some may be some negative feedback on you, and we all have to understand that as we go through it. Regardless of your preference, traditional media is really no longer the first place people turn to for information. We know more and more people get their product recommendations from peers in the social network, news from their peers in the social media, and the fact is more than 60% of consumers are influenced by other consumers' comments, and obviously reviews, etc. Really important. Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, says your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And with social media, you can be in the room if you want, and you can get kicked out if you're not careful as well. It can go sideways on you. There's a lot more stories about people being terminated in their jobs because of things that they've done on social media versus a lot of pass-through on sales. We'll look at that. And look, whether you're an advocate or a naysayer, adding social media to your traditional marketing strategy can effectively help you engage in the community when done properly. Many dealers assume that they can sell more cars or retain consumers by merely posting to social networks, but they've really failed to understand engaging or relevant content that brings value to the community. Look, consumers want to engage with other consumers on these sites, not necessarily with dealers, unless you're bringing value and relevancy. So keep that in mind. There was a recent article in the New York Times on April 9th, 2015, and it discussed the gaps between automotive dealers and social media. Several dealers and OEMs have reevaluated their traction to what we call the shiny object of social media and looking at new technology to more effectively reach more and sell more. And here's the interesting thing. Matt Howell, the general manager of a Hyundai dealership in Huntsville, Texas, he's been in the auto business for about 18 years, and he quoted, he said, in all that time, I can think of one deal that originated on Facebook. Now, the truth is, he was also quoted as, he'll keep posting photos of happy customers and encouraging the right reviews, but he says he doesn't have much use for the rest, especially since Hyundai began charging a $275 fee for the service. Look, car manufacturers, including Hyundai and Ford Motor Company, have embraced social media and spent tens of millions of dollars on sophisticated marketing campaigns. Yet many of the local dealers barely maintain a Facebook page, and if they do, they don't keep it relevant or up to date. For those dealers who struggle to understand how to use social media, there are really a lot of great companies out there that can help you connect in the right way. Kate Frost Inc., Brian Pash at PCG, all great companies out there, amongst many others. Today, we're not going to talk about social media. I'm going to talk about everything but that. I want to give you some technology and some strategies that will help you sell more cars right now. So let's look at a little bit of the background. Everybody already knows that mobile is not coming, mobile's here, mobile is forever, right? We know 80% of the car dealers and almost 100% of the used vehicle searches begin their journey online. In fact, close to 90% use extensive online sources. And I will tell you, Google announced Tuesday of this week that searches on mobile for the first time in the U.S. top PCs. So think about that. All searches for all things on Tuesday of this week, Google announced, surpassed PC by mobile. So we already know that it's here. We know that it's going to continue to grow in a massive, massive way. According to a 2014 Capgemini Cars Online survey study, 97% of the generation connected consumers start the shopping process online. I think everybody would agree with that. Probably the other 3% didn't understand the question, or they just lied. I think everybody starts somewhere online at this point. And look, today's consumers are smarter. They're better informed, and they're certainly more intolerant of what I call being sold than ever before. They're looking for a hassle-free, gratifying, type of experience. 43% of smartphone users use the device on the lot. We know that at least half of them are out there while you're out there on the lot looking at their mobile device, shopping you against other competitors, or even looking at your own sites. 57% of those people are looking for pricing info, 22% are just looking at general info, and about 14% are looking at additional vehicle info. But let me give you some quick freebies right up front. Mobile and internet marketing strategies you should have right now. First, mobile-friendly website version. Second, sales service version of your website. Less than 3%, according to NADA, is service content on your website. I'm going to come back to that in a little bit. I think that's really key. You need to create your own dealer-branded apps that are useful for consumers, but they also benefit the dealership. Very few dealers have their own branded apps right now. Online tracking and retargeting strategies. Online 100% transparent digital automotive retail, really the online purchasing experience. I want you to start thinking of the Amazon experience for your consumers. Give them the ability to build their own car deal, from a new vehicle, equipment, aftermarket selection, to trade valuation, all the way to deal desking, and let's make it a smarter, short, and long-term communication strategies wrapped around those. These are very, very important things, and let's take a look at a couple of those things. So when we look at mobile technology, how many of you out there are actually doing this or have your own dealership-branded mobile app? Most of the seminars that I go to, it's still only a couple of people in the room. And generally, these are some of the top people that are in our industry. So I encourage you to take a look at having your own branded app and then consistently going back to test it and look at it. According to 2013 Google's Digital Drives Auto Shopper survey, in-market shoppers are increasingly looking for information on their mobile device. I think everybody knows this. 35% in 2013 used a mobile device, a 460% increase from 2011. We know, as I mentioned earlier, mobile shopping has surpassed PC for the first time ever this week. Mobile apps are dealership branded. They should be useful to consumers, otherwise they won't use. Make your mobile app consumer friendly, but also provide a benefit for the dealership. So here's some interesting statistics. The Forrester Research Company looked at loyalty apps, and while 45% of consumers on average sign up for these loyalty apps and programs, only about 16% of consumers actively use them. Make it easy to redeem rewards, right? Think relevancy. Think about the different rewards programs out there with airlines or Amex, etc. Customize your rewards programs and make sure they access effectively to programs and adjust. If you don't make it easy, it's not going to happen. If you don't make it relevant and real, it's not going to happen. Let me give you an example. There are people out there that still do $50, $100 bird dog fees, right, for a referral for somebody to come in and refer somebody else to buy a car. $50 will not move anybody on this call off the couch, I guarantee it. And if it won't move you off the couch, it's not going to move your consumers. So change the thinking. We've still got 1980, 1990 thought process out there when it comes to loyalty and rewards program. If we know the average per vehicle advertisement fee is anywhere between $350 and $400 per car, look, make it relevant. Get somebody up there to $400. That would pay somebody's car bill. That would get me off the couch. That would make me want to do a relevant referral back into the store. 75% of card buyers use loyalty points rewards programs with other types of retailers, but not us. 59% of consumers say they would try a new brand or company for a better service experience. There's a lot of opportunity out there, and I'm going to tell you that the surveys that see the Camp Gemini survey study in particular, 76% of shoppers who become a car owner want service reminders, 64% want to receive seasonal offers, and 78% want to post a complaint if not satisfied. Now, I really don't want to hear about the complaints, but if you don't know the complaint, you can't solve it. That's another big thing that I always tell everybody is encourage feedback. Feedback is great, whether it's good, whether it's bad. The worst kind of feedback you can get is no feedback. So provide a forum for your consumers as well as a fast freebie. And look, what should you do? Your app must be possible for a user to create an account so they don't have to re-enter information every time they want to use. Make it easy. DMS integration is a must. A couple of other freebies that you should do. The ability to have multiple cars in one user's account, right? They may have bought a car from somewhere else. It would be a great benefit if they can put that car into the app and then you know about it. That's also something you can market to, or you can see their shopping habits. Make it targeted and relative incentives to specific vehicles in their garage. and it needs to integrate with the dealership's loyalty program and make that loyalty program relevant. Give them the ability to display current dealership inventory so that they can search your inventory online as they want to. Display up-to-date history, easy-to-use online service scheduler so they can service scheduler right there without having to contact the store, and make sure that there's built-in maintenance and app appointment reminders as well. These are all huge items that you can do in there. But here's some benefits you should also give the consumer so that they'll have the visibility, have the relevance, and they'll make sure they'll actually use it, as we saw earlier. That's a big thing. Parking assistant sets your clock with a parking meter reminders, vehicle location finder, integration with roadside assistance program, local search for gas stations, best gas prices. They're up and down like a toilet seat. Out here in California, we're back up to $4 over a gallon. I want to see where the best gas prices are. Integration with financial lenders to make a car payment at any time, their banks, etc. And if you live in Seattle like I do, you want to make sure you can locate any porpoise sightings that might be happening in the sound. These are all great relevant things to each individual consumer. So let's take a look at our poll question, Ileana. What's the first poll question?
Our first poll question is on the screen now. Audience, you know how we do this. We ask you a poll question. We want to know what you think. So actually, now this is funny because he actually said the answer to this. So let's see if you guys were paying attention. The question is, while 45% of consumers on average sign up for reward or loyalty programs, what is the percentage that actively uses them? Please select one of the following answers. Did you catch it? Was it 24? And let me just tell you, he rattled off a whole lot of statistics all at once. So I feel you if you didn't catch it, but let's see if you can figure this one out. Is it 24%, 59%, 44%, 16%, or 13%? Once we get a majority of those votes in, we're going to close this poll and share the results. So thank you so much, audience. I love that you guys are voting. Thank you so much. Oh, and if you're writing in your answer to me, I appreciate that, but we actually need you to click on that radio button that's on your screen if you could do that for us. Of course, if you're listening on an iPad, you might not be able to, and that is just one of the drawbacks that we have today. But other than that, we hope to get your votes in. So thank you so much, audience, for voting. And let's see how many of you were able to pick that up. Bill, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. I just want you to know, I told you my audience was smart. Here we go. Let's close that poll and share the results. All right, 77% of my very smart audience did, in fact, get the right answer, 16%.
Awesome, good job.
We had some close ones, too. The other two were pretty close. 9% of today's audience thought it might be around 13%, and the last 14% of today's audience thought it might be around 24%. So, yes, the answer was D, 16%. Thank you so much, audience.
Good job. Paying attention early.
Paying attention. Thank you so much. Okay, Bill, back to you.
Right on. Listen, we want to look at now when we look at website and some different things that you can incorporate here. According to that same 2014 Camp Gemini study, the dealer's website is the most important information source when shopping for a vehicle. Again, you know that. To make your website mobile ready, that's a no-brainer. You've got to create a responsive website that adjusts the size, but you need to make sure that your whole website is designed to resize. If just one image won't adjust its dimensions, it could throw off the entire site off your mobile browser. So keep that in mind. A lot of people don't go all the way through and look at those different communication needs and do those testing. Let me give you a couple other stats. 90% of consumers will always check the website first before emailing or calling you. Here's a big one. There are 700 million online searches every month dealing with automotive service. 700 million online searches a month just for automotive service. In fact, 1 in 5 shoppers prefer online chat over any other communication method. Do you have chat set up? How are you managing that? According to that same study, only 22% selected an online assistant for video chat as an important website option, so keep that in mind. Freebie on that, don't have the pop-up on every page. At least try to do an elephant ear on the side. It's really annoying to have the person coming up on every page everywhere you go to. Active Engage shows that shoppers begin to drop off the chat if not answered within 6 seconds. Man, if we think that the automotive industry has ADD, the consumers have even a higher risk of ADD. The average time for the in-house response to that same chat, 28 seconds. So there's a big disparity between those. We did a recent study here at eLead One's contact center, and we found managed chat offers a 34% higher engagement conversion ratio and a 17% higher appointment percentage versus self-managed chat inside of the dealership realm. So keep that in mind as well. Now, let's keep this. Less than 10% of your monthly website visitors are actually on your site between 12 a.m. and 8 a.m. So people worry about the after-hours chat. It's a very small percentage, and the truth is half of those people you probably don't want to talk to anyway. It's a 16-year-old kid looking for the next Corvette, etc. Not that they're bad, not that we don't want to sell them later on, but we need to focus on the areas that'll give us the most. I'm going to give you one of the biggest freebies right here. According to Google and their Insight Driver study, 43% of all drivers conduct an online search to decide where they service their car. According to RL Polk, Google searches for fixed ops increased 400% in 5 years. What I'm going to tell you right now is the biggest thing that you should do and take out of here. If you take one thing from this webinar, this is what it should be. You need a dedicated service website. Not one where it's a link to another, but you need a dedicated service website along with your sales website. Not where you have 3% of your content or a little coupon on the side that says, hey, come in for a free oil change. It needs to be a dedicated service website. Right now, typical car dealers have very few pages on their websites with limited information about service departments, hours, phone numbers, etc. You're competing against national brands such as Firestone, Goodyear, Pep Boys with thousands of pages of website content. If you don't believe me, go search after this webinar in your area, put tire or oil change for whatever market you're in, Seattle, etc. See where the first dealer pops up. You'll be lucky if they pop up on the first page, let alone anywhere in the top 4 or 5. Most likely it's going to be on the 5th or 6th page, and we all know nobody's going to go there. Showing up on the first page isn't enough, by the way. You've got to have calls to action on service sites that are completely different. Once you have that strong online content, marketers of fixed ops, you can begin paid search programs to fight those national brands and market for all fixed ops service such as oil change, tire service, brake repair, etc. Look, I know some of you sitting here, there's probably very few fixed operators that are on here, and you're saying to yourself, why does this matter to me? I will tell you why this matters to me. If somebody else in the dealerships is successful because of something you did, that will come back for you. You cannot be successful unless everyone else is successful. And if you're in charge of the marketing, the branding, the e-commerce of your dealership, you have an obligation to make sure that you include the service aspect. Because we know for a fact that good, solid service customers equal more purchases and vice versa. If you've got a great symbiotic relationship between those two, and I'm going to hit on this a little bit later in the webinar here, a couple of items that you can really hone in the service department that will sell more cars. So keep that. What are a couple of must-haves on those websites? Look, you need to support different languages depending on what area of the country you are. It needs to have a responsive design, as we talked about earlier, and of course it needs to be interactive, display vehicle details, pricing comparison, and a couple of those other items. So make sure that we are dialed in on that aspect. You've got to have everything, including your chat, should be linked in, not only to your site, but mobilely. You need to be able to do cost-effective, complete lead information, high-quality analytics, and all of those different items. And look, tie it into one place. If it's not tied into one place, you're never going to get salespeople on average to look at multiple logins to see where they're at. So keep that in mind. Let's look at some retargeting info as well. Tracking and retarget. You need to retarget anywhere you have a web presence, whether that's your website, social endeavors. Create compelling ads or incentives is half the battle. We already know they're mobile. We already know that they're out there. But what do? Digital ad spend, including mobile search, is expected to double in the next 3 years to almost $59 billion by 2018. Whoa. That's according to eMarketer's U.S. ad spend. Q4 2014 forecast. Where are you spending your money? Are you still spending it on the mailer that I talked about in my last presentation where they gave away a 3-in-1 flashlight or a soccer ball? Or do you have that giant gorilla out on the front of your dealership? I saw a Builder Bob inflatable this week on a dealership that was under construction. That same money could have created one of the greatest geofencing ad campaigns in the world. So where should you spend that money? Obviously website. Track website consumers. Deliver custom messaging based on previous website activities. Easy to build targeting incentives or coupons. message-specific department or vehicle searches. Make sure you've got instant alerts tied back to the sales team for known consumers in your CRM. Again, it should all integrate. Your providers should be able to do that for you. Geo-targeting, here's a couple of phrases. You should have more targeted ads to consumers within certain radius, not only surrounding your own dealership's physical location, but the first thing I do is go circle at my competitors, so that every time, even if the salespeople were inside the dealership and went to ESPN.com on their phone, they're going to see my ad, and they're going to wonder why I'm all over the place, and so are their consumers. So target those ads within certain locations. Determine your demographic areas that sell the vehicles. Usually your OEMs will help you out with this DMAs. Get additional data for companies like Polk. They'll tell you the dealers' locations where consumers are likely to buy given a certain brand. You know, the best time is to cost effectively serve these ads. Do it in the best hours. That's when the conversion is going to align close to the hours that the dealership is open, or weekend or evening hours. Don't try to target all the time. Narrow it down and do it staggered when the dealership's open. Let's look at a couple other stats supporting that, right? There is a whole bunch of surveys, including the Thrive Analytics in 2015 local search report that showed 55% of consumers have clicked on a mobile ad on their mobile device, demonstrating greater acceptance to ads on phones and tablets. These users are ready to buy, as 53% of consumers who clicked on the ad ended up making a purchase. In fact, 40% purchased within the same day. So think about where you're at on your targeting and your retargeting. Now, on your website, what are we going to do to give those consumers that Amazon experience, and what are they expecting? And I'm going to tell you, this is the part that's really scary for a lot of dealers, but this is where it is now, and this is where dealers are going in the future. We're looking at the interest of buying cars online, as opposed to just researching. It's dramatically increasing. The likelihood, this is interesting here, think about this, the likelihood to purchase a vehicle online rose 9% in 2014. It rose from 25% to 34%. That's already a huge increase on what consumers are thinking about specific automotive purchases. The number one reason they want to buy a car online is for price, and then the second reason is an easier, faster transaction rate. So think about those two, and it makes sense. We know CSI is better when it's a faster transaction rate. We actually know profits are higher when it's a faster transaction rate. If a consumer's in your dealership lot and in your lounge and in your negotiation for 4 or 5 hours, where is your deal going to be at that point? I guarantee you it's not going to be a very high gross if you're spending 4 or 5 hours going through that process. Let's make it easy for them. Look, younger shoppers are more likely to purchase online. In fact, 49% between the ages of 18 and 34 compared to 29% at 50 or above. Now, I understand, but that Jim Ziegler's a good friend of mine, and he told me a couple of things. First of all, he said, who cares about the millennials? Well, I do. I care about the millennials. I know that they're going to purchase vehicles, number one, and number two, if they don't, their parents will for them. The other thing he told me last week, anybody can be an expert with a phone and 1 week. So think about that, where you get your information and all those things out there. Take a look at what you could do with online, iPad, or on your service, or on your website. Full negotiation ability. You have the ability to go in here and negotiate the terms, still control it back to the dealership, make sure that they have that opportunity to buy, and you can control and self-serve them back up the items, and it really feels like that they have the choice in the matter. We've been doing this in F&I for the better part of 10 years, and we've seen F&I grosses continue to rise, all because we're giving them options and not obligations. This is where the consumers want this to go. You should be able to provide this not only in the dealership on an iPad, so you never have to go back to the desk. You should be able to do this online where they can sit at home from the couch, make that purchase. They're still going to come in. Trust me, they want to come in. In fact, 76% of this year's survey participants said they were willing to consider an alternative test drive location, and they'll actually prefer that they want you to bring them the car for a test drive. 40% said that they want you to bring them the car for a test drive, but they still want to come into the dealership to take a look at what's going on. The desire to negotiate the terms online is on rise, but they still want to see the vehicle. Many dealers are already selling cars online by offering virtual pricing, negotiation, contract signing, and a couple of the big automotive groups are already in huge initiatives in this way. So are you ready? Where is your technology? And importantly, where are your technology providers and partners in this? And can you provide this for them today? Keep that in mind. What about communication? Man, consumers want that information. Not only want it easy, not only want to be able to self-serve it online. We know all the search things that Google's told us about the different touch points consumers are doing right now. On average, 14. Millennials are up to 26 touch points. in the online shopping survey. But what about communication? We already know that it's in the last couple of years, leads are down, calls are up. Dealer.com survey said that on mobile shoppers, there's a 26-to-1 call versus online lead conversion ratio right now. People are calling into the dealership. How are you set up to handle that, right? We know surveys show 85% of consumers are dissatisfied with their phone experience, and the messaging is not consistent. Let's talk about some outbound follow-up, right? The average salesperson typically does not persistently attempt to call consumers after the second unsuccessful dial. Do you guys have a jail sale, right? I call it sales jail. Do you have a common time each day where when they come in for their shift, they have to go and call their daily work plans or their operating or the follow-up? Look, they're going to get the same results at the same time of every day if they're calling at those same times. So at least mix your sales jail up. Don't do it at the same time every day. They're probably calling people at home because that's the only number that they got, and they're probably at work. So think about that. In fact, 67% of consumers have hung up on the phone with car dealers out of frustration because they could not talk to a real person somewhere in the process. We did a study at the eLead One Contact Call Center. We found that it takes 4.8 attempts on average to successfully connect with the right consumer that was inside the dealership. We also found 84% contact rate when you have two viable phone numbers. So you can almost get 8 out of 10, almost 9 out of 10 on the phone if you get two phone numbers and you're dialing effectively. 95% of those contacted actually took a survey and provided feedback to the dealer. People want to talk about the car business. They're sometimes afraid to talk about it with the dealer specifically, so think about that too. 60% of sales calls result in an appointment when asked for one. 50% purchase same day when a serious buyer. And look, long-term internet lead follow-up. We followed a group that had an average of 14.6 closing ratio in the first 30 days. They increased that rate by another 5% with consistent phone follow-up, totaling 19% over a long-term segment. What are you doing? Do you have a BDC? What's the focus of that BDC? Are they only focused on the short term, or are they looking at actual business development? Do you have a long-term follow-up plan? My first recommendation is if you do have a BDC, eliminate them from doing the short-term follow-up. Your salespeople should be doing that. They have the ability and relationship. Have the BDC do that long-term follow-up. Take it over after the 30 days. It's a great way to really generate business and make it a business development center on a longer term process. Think about that. Where are you at on your inbound phone calls? Who's taking those? We know leads are down. We know phone calls are up. 85% of consumers are dissatisfied with the phone experience. This is according to Call Source survey. 26% of calls for service that are coming into the dealership. Less than 20% of sales consultants actually attempt to make a definite appointment on a phone opportunity. Look, start at least asking for them to come in. Give them the information. Be easy to deal with on the phone and on the web, because if you're not easy in those two places, consumers are going to say, if it's this hard to do business now, how hard is it going to be when I come into the dealership? So think about that. We also know that according to that same Call Source survey, 80% of consumers contact the dealership by phone at some point, but yet we only set a 7.8% appointment ratio based on that. Ileana, poll question time, baby.
Man, you are on a roll today.
I only had 3 cups of tea this morning. I'm not allowed to have coffee anymore.
That's a darn shame, dude.
You know, one time after one of these, somebody sent in a survey, and I'm so sorry for this person. They said, why is he screaming at me all the time? I'm not screaming. I'm really just really passionate.
You're very, very
What's our poll question, Ileana?
Right. Poll question is on the screen now, audience. We'd love it if you'd take part in it. Okay, so the question is, what is the most important thing a dealership can do to better compete against national service brands like Pep Boys and Goodyear? Now, we're talking from a marketing perspective, of course, so please select one of the following answers. Do you believe the most important thing you can do to compete against national service brands is send flyers to customers in their region, create a standalone service-dedicated website, steal customers from their parking lot, although I don't know if anyone's tried that, but I'd like to see if that one works, conquest email advertising, or all of the above? What is the single most important thing a dealership can do to better compete against national service brands like Pep Boys and Goodyear? Send flyers to consumers, create a standalone service-dedicated website, steal customers from their parking lot, conquest email advertising, or do you think it's all of the above?
Steal the question. I'd say steal the customers, Ileana. That's what I would do.
I mean, how do you do that? I would love to know. You just stand out there and be like, hey, and you have those things that the guys at the airport have on the tarmac. Does that work?
There you go. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And before I close this poll question, I'm just going to remind the audience again, if you haven't gotten in your question for Bill Wittenmyer, please send them on in. As soon as you have a question, write it on in. We will be getting to those questions at the end of the presentation. Okay, so audience, thank you so much for all of your votes. We do appreciate you. And we're going to close this poll and share the results. Well, 79% of today's audience think it's create a standalone service-dedicated website.
Right on.
8% of today's audience thought it might be conquest email advertising. And 13% of today's audience think it's all of the above, including the stealing of the customers from the parking lot.
Right on. There you go.
So, Bill, or as I like to call you, B-Dub, what is the correct answer for these good folks?
Correct answer is the smart people that participate within the DealerOn webinars. It's create a standalone service-dedicated website. I said that earlier. It's the number one thing if you take away from this that you can do that would increase a massive amount of ROI inside the store. Great job.
Thank you so much, audience. All right, back to you, Bill.
Let's talk about service a little bit more. And I know you're going to start thinking to yourself, man, I'm not really participating in that, but here's where I'm going to tie it in. We know on average, fixed operations account for about 12% of the dealer's entire revenue, but 60% of automotive dealerships' net profit comes out of service. Most common problem service customers have is the feeling of being taken advantage of. We don't know. I mean, they built the cars nowadays. If you open the hood, it's impossible to work on. They've built that around the engine that you literally cannot get into it. It's not like the old 81 Volkswagen I had in high school trying to make sure I could work on it every day. It's a totally different deal, which makes consumers feel that much more uneasy because they have a lack of proper documentation, information. They don't have it there. It's not transparent. Today's web-based technology allows dealers to provide 100% transparency throughout the service experience if you take advantage of it from the moment they schedule an appointment until the repair order is complete. What we're looking at is way of the future right here, which is the walk-around MPI, the walk-around service application portals. This should be tied into your CRM and everything that you do. There should never be a service advisor that's tied now to a desk or to a PC. In fact, I'm going to make another statement. Within the next 5 years, PCs will not exist inside of a dealership. Everything's going to be mobile that we do, and it may even be less than that. There will be no standalone computers in less than 5 years inside of the store. So we've seen this, again, for years in F&I. We pointed this out earlier. This is the same theory in F&I. What are some benefits when you start doing this transparency of a walk-around, multi-point inspection, and ability? First of all, interactive. You're interactive in the service drive, and you're doing a walk-around and active delivery and sales. Quick views of the service history, customer information, retarget previously declined services. That's a huge thing. Walkabout process that quickly records damage, uploads pictures of the vehicle, multi-point inspection with virtualized interaction with parts counter, personalized estimates with photos, MPI forms, preloaded maintenance packages where they can choose different items. They can even sign and go through the actual authorization of service and payment right there in the lane without having to get up and go in the office. And of course, what other benefits should it have? 100% integration to your DMS and CRM and a dealer branded mobile app. This is really amazing. This is what you really got to tie those things together. In fact, 30% respondents in that Gemini survey earlier said the top reason for choosing a service location was quality. The second reason was price. Third was proximity to home. People are looking for a quality experience, and they want that transparency. Let's make sure that we give a couple of things that don't provide for negative service experiences. Some of the most common: high prices, hidden costs, excessive wait times. This speeds up wait time. Also impersonal staff and not having that out there. So in contrast, those price dealer service teams most often mention comfortable surrounds and friendly and helpful staff is where it really needs to be at. So keep that in mind. 2014 Cars.com service study on trust and price transparency. #1 reason those surveys will not consider dealership for service is high prices and the perception of that. So let's keep that in mind. Average lifespan of a vehicle is going to continue to grow. It's currently at 11.3 years. So because consumers have a limited knowledge of actual service prices, they're really fearful of being taken advantage of. But when you provide this opportunity here and this transparency, they're going to take advantage of that and they're going to feel more comfortable. Let me give you another freebie. Inside the service lane and in this process right here, create your vehicle exchange process. Your CRM should have database mining. I'm going to touch on this in a little bit. It should be tied into service lane database. You should be able to look at that vehicle instantaneously before they even drive in and know whether this customer can move out of that vehicle into a new one on your lot right now that's picked out, keep their payment the same or lower it, create the vehicle exchange process inside your service lane. Get your service advisors tied into that as well. That's a huge opportunity for you because we already know that trying to sell a new prospect, 5 to 20%, probability of selling an existing one, 60 to 70%. So we've already got this customer in our service lane. They already like, trust us, and respect us, and they've spent money with us. This is a great opportunity to move them out. But this is a tough process. This is one that takes execution. It's not just about finding the vehicle. It's not just about identifying it. Great CRM should be able to do that, but you've got to execute as well, and then you have to follow up. Sometimes, here's another freebie, it doesn't happen right there in the service lane. They're intimidated. They hadn't thought about trading their vehicle. They hadn't thought about getting a new one, but a little time bomb goes off in their head 4 or 5 days later when they're sitting on the couch at home and they think to themselves, man, that would be nice to be in a new car. I really would like to move into a new one. Maybe I can see if I can take them up on that offer. Keep that in mind as you go through there. We want to make sure we know our consumers are smarter. They're better informed. We know 7 out of 10 Americans are willing to spend more with companies they believe provide excellent customer service. We know that you have to have a couple of things. These are the must-haves you need right now inside of the dealership. You've got to be database mining. You've got to have the technology that targets customers who are ready to buy positions, escalate the buying process. You need to identify current and conquest opportunities, and you need to send them the right message to the right person at the right time and make it make sense. And you've got to follow up on it. You need to mine your service drive with real-time alerts to the sales desk. For instance, maybe they're about to spend an alert of $2,000 on an RO. Instead of spending that $2,000, you should have an alert system inside your CRM that alerts the sales staff or the salesperson that sold them that car. That's a great opportunity to go back and say, hey, look, instead of putting that $2,000 into this car, how about we buy it from you to use that $2,000 as down payment? Let's get you where you were before. That's the kind of items that we need to look at. But if you don't know, you can't do it. So make sure you've got that technology and it's there. You should have types of materials inside the lanes, inside the service. Here, let me give you another freebie. Every vehicle that goes through your service lane should have an offer to purchase left on its seat. A good CRM would be able to print this out instantaneously, even from the cashier. That part of their job is just to drop it in there. Even the porter should be able to do this and drop an offer to purchase on the driver's seat as they pick up the car. There's nothing obtrusive about that. You're not approaching them. Again, it lets them say, maybe even a handwritten note, I saw your vehicle. We'd really love this to have this in our inventory. Give me a call if you're interested, and leave it at that. Keep it simple. Keep it relevant. Don't promise them that you have a buyer for the car. Just tell them you have a need for the car. Here's another freebie I guarantee you're not doing inside your dealership. Make sure all of your service advisors know your used car stock plan. What do I mean by used car stock plan? The vehicles or the top 10 vehicles you need that sell off your used car lot that you know you need today. Your used car lane, best opportunity, service lane. There are more vehicles going through there every month than typically in the auction that you're going to see that fit. Make sure your service advisors know what cars your dealership's looking for. Even if it's for you specifically, you'd be amazed at how many people and how many deals you can get out of that. So it's all about execution, though, guys. I'm going to give you one last freebie on this part of it. I'll give you two. I'm feeling generous today, Leon. A dedicated team. Make sure that you've got 1 or 2 people. This is only their job. Create a team where their only job is to go out there and to make that service exchange program happen in the service lane. If you don't do that, nothing's going to happen. You've got to have one throat to choke, one person that's responsible. If you make that one person responsible, you will get results on that execution. The second thing is, on any of your database marketing programs, whether it's targeting repurchases, new acquisitions, database mining, etc., make sure it's a two-pronged campaign. Make sure you're going after sales, and if they're not interested in sales, automatically move them into a service opportunity and have a service opportunity hook available. If you're doing a service campaign, make sure you have a sales opportunity available to them as well. All of these consumers cross-pollinate over each other. Make sure if you're connecting with them, you're at least giving them as many different options as opposed to obligations as possible. So keep that in mind. We know it's 6 to 7 times more expensive to acquire a new customer, so make sure you're going out doing that database marketing. And in your communication, look, do 2 different types of communication as well. Do A/B testing. Don't just do one branded email out. Do 2 different ones, and then look back and see which one was more successful than the other. Well, your CRM should be able to provide you with the open rates, the conversion rates, tying it back to your DMS, and then you can see which messages that you're sending out are actually getting through. What consumers see and hear in terms of incentives and what we think, because we're in the car business, are totally 2 different things. Use a couple of different branded messages on each one, test them out, see which one works best. Those are the type of things that you can do. By the way, last freebie on this, target them during the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Your weekend's going to take care of itself, guys. You already do all the advertising. The consumer's already taken care of that entire time. They're already conditioned to come in then. Make sure that you've got that dialed in for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. If you increase business on those days, weekends will take care of themselves. Stop trying to push everybody to come in on the weekends. Try to make that lift up happen during the week. Last thing, couple of things here, guys. Thank you so much for your time, number 1. Number 2, failure isn't fatal, but failure to change might be. The great coach John Wooden. That means execution. Don't be afraid to do different things. Experience is just a lot of failures behind you, and don't be afraid to have those failures. Just be afraid to do the same failures over and over again. And I always love to end everything that I do with this, and this is from despair.com. This is what they call their demotivational. So anybody who has to have a motivational poster in their office is already dead. So I go the opposite way. This says teamwork, ensuring that your hard work can always be ruined by someone else's incompetence. So have some humor, guys. Really appreciate everybody going on. There's some great resources that we talked about in here. The Capgemini Cars Online 2014 Generation Connected Survey. You can see the Cars.com insights, trust and price transparency. And I hope that you got some great takeaways from mobile communication, engagement strategies, maybe some in-store sales tactics, processes, accountability measures, and hopefully a couple of freebies that you were able to take, as well as some great statistics, and see where you measure up in those areas. And then, Ileana, I think you're going to open it up to some questions at some point.
I am, audience. That was a lot of information. You guys got to have some questions. If you got some questions for today's webinar presenter, Bill Wittenmyer, now's a great time to send those in. We're going to get started on your questions in just a moment. Before we do, we got some fun to take care of. I usually say business, but come on, let's be honest. This is the fun part. I'm going to put on my Monty Hall hat. I wish I had some game show music. I don't, but we are giving away an amazing prize today. If you missed it at the beginning of the webinar, well, I announced that our good friends at eLead1, ho, 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 they're giving away a prize. I wish I was eligible to win. One of you lucky webinar attendees is going to be winning an iPad mini. It's valued at $500. And like I said, only one of you, we're only giving out one. All you have to do is answer a simple question about the presentation. So get ready and get to your keyboards. Now, the first one who writes in the correct response will be walking away with this cool prize today. So good luck, everyone. And of course, vendors, you know we love you, but we're going to ask you to please sit this one out. This prize is, in fact, intended only for dealership personnel. But thank you so much for being here today. All right, here we go. Good luck, everyone. I got to tell you, I was listening for this to see if he said it, and I told him to make the question a little challenging. So if you don't know the answer to this, guess. All right, so here we go. Okay, of those surveyed, who said that they would be likely to purchase a vehicle online? What is the percentage of increase that occurred between 2013 and 2014. So we're looking for a, oh my God, somebody got it right. I cannot believe somebody, oh my gosh, more than one person got it right. Man, you guys must have taken incredible notes because Bill, you were just rattling off so many different statistics. I thought maybe it would have gotten lost.
Did anybody get the secret word that was put out earlier? Maybe you should put that in there as well.
Yes, we'll talk about that in just a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, let's tell the person who was the first one to write in with the correct response. Congratulations, Heather Pridemore. The correct answer was 9%, and I
Right on.
am Heather. I am so impressed with you. I'm writing down your name right now. You have earned that iPad Mini. And by the way, Heather, please, before you start going off and celebrating, I need to know the name of your dealership and also your mailing address so we can get this prize out to you. Of course, this prize is going to be shipped directly to you from our friends over at eLead1. And I'm hoping that she wrote in. Oh, here we go. Heather. She's with Prestige Imports in Lakewood, Colorado. Oh,
Right on. Very
not too
good.
far from you. Okay. So, Heather, congratulations. You'll be getting that iPad mini in no time. Of course, I want to also thank everyone for playing along today. Of course, we give away great prizes every week. So, check in next week. You could win another prize. And, of course, a huge thank you to our good friends at eLead1 for their incredible generosity. All right, Bill. By the way, just so you know, I laid down a bet that Bill could not work in a secret word today, and he did, in fact, work in the secret word. And Bill, I am impressed. I didn't think you could do it because I thought I gave you a pretty challenging one.
Yeah, it was. That wasn't easy. I mean, that came and I was not prepared for that, so I had to work that in there.
Okay, well, you'll have to listen to the recording, but the secret word was porpoise. So just letting you know, he
I
did
thought
work
I worked it pretty good too. I thought I had it like right on the money.
right on the money. Okay. So thank you so much for that. And Ron and David were the two first people who heard that thing. They wrote to me right away and told me that they
Right
heard
on.
it. All right. So your first question comes to you from Thomas. All right. And Thomas has a few questions. So I'm going to go through. He has like a 3-part question here. All right.
Okay.
All right. So Thomas says, I want to personalize my email marketing. How do you define the customer as they enter a dealership site? For instance, say, quote unquote, pat@gmail.com comes in. Can I find out if Pat is 35-year-old single male or a 45-year-old married mom with 2 kids? Which so totally reminds me of Pat from Saturday Night Live, which, by the way,
Great.
am I the
That's
only
a
person
great
in the
question.
world who does not know whether that actor was an actor or an actress? Because I really don't know if it was done by a man or a woman.
That's a great question.
So I really don't.
Look, I think it's really about engagement at that point. And engagement there's something that we haven't done in this business that we've kind of lost a little bit, and that's the enthusiasm and putting the conversation back in the sale. And I think one of the key factors is asking those critical questions in those common ground areas. You talk about, do you have kids? That's always a big thing. You talk about your own kids, if they have kids, and you can generally start to decipher information out fairly quickly on, is Pat, a mom? Is Pat a dad? Is Pat a single guy, etc. So I think it's really all about the different communications that we do and doing that engagement. And the likes, look, what is the purpose of the vehicle? What are you looking for to do out of this? What are the things that you like to do? We've forgotten a little bit of that engagement and that conversation, and certainly the next generations are going to be even worse because they have no conversational skill policies whatsoever, right? All they do is text back and forth to each other. So I think you got to put that conversation back in, and you can do that in any avenue, whether it's the email, whether it's text, or whether it's on the phone. I, of course, love being on the phone, but that's the biggest thing. And that's the other question too, right? You want to drive them from that email lovemaking to the phone anyway, because then it eliminates it pretty quick on whether it's a male or female, at least in most cases. I mean, there are a few there that you've got to be careful on. But I think that's a really great question. I think in short, it's really about engagement, asking the questions back and forth, finding a little bit about them and that common ground and some of those real basic steps to the sale. You there, Ileana?
I was talking this whole time. Oh my gosh. So I
You
wanted
sounded great, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
to your dog. That's the only one that was there because I don't think anybody else heard it.
Bill, I wanted to let you know I've never heard the term email lovemaking before, so thank you for bringing that up on my webinar.
Yeah, that is an original quote, by the way.
Original
You
from
can,
B-Dub. Follow-up question from Thomas. He says, many thanks. Secondly, how can I tell if the email address they provide is valid as well as the phone number? Is there something in the CRM that can check that
well,
out?
that's a great question. Yeah, and any good CRM should be able to validate those emails instantaneously, whether you're putting those emails in while they're there in the store or phone number in the store, or they should also have reverse phone number lookup and email verification within the customer opportunities page. So I would think most good CRMs have that. I know ours certainly do. I'm not here to pitch that, but you should be able to do a reverse lookup on both of those items, or even while they're in the store in the input there, it should verify whether that's a valid email address or a valid phone number as well, and address, even taking it a step further. So if you don't have that ability, you can certainly go do reverse email appends. There's a lot of great companies out there that will do that for you, and typically in the reverse email appends, they'll do it as a segmented database. You'll probably get 20 to 25% of those back. Not only will they validate that it's a good email, but they'll also get them opted in. That's part of the thing. So anything that comes back is typically not only valid, but also opted in. So, but I would think a great CRM would do that. Most DMSs don't do that. So I think you probably need to rely on your CRM.
Thank you so much, Bill. Thomas, certainly if you have a follow-up question for Bill, hey, please write on in. You asked some great ones right there. Okay, next question comes to you from David. David says, how much do you suggest that we give our service advisors, cashiers, etc., for sending a customer from service to sales?
That's a great question. I'm a little bit out of the box in my thinking because, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, there's still a lot of dealerships that are using a $50 or $100 bird dog fee is what we used to call them, for customers to send us other customers that bought. Look, I don't think that really moves anybody. I mean, it takes $50 to fill your gas tank nowadays, so I think you have to put that in a relative terms. What would you normally spend? What is your average vehicle spend right now in terms of advertisement for each deal? It's probably somewhere around $300 to $350. Look, make it make sense to me. I pay them $300. I mean, that's just me. I know this. I know that if they send me a customer out of the service lane, a couple of things are going to happen. First of all, I know the car that they're going to trade. It's no mystery. I'm not going to get it back from the auction, put it up on the rack, and find out it's got a $1,000 tranny issue that I didn't know about before. I also know that I'm going to do the work in-house, which means all my recon work I just saved, they're going to get paid on as well. And I know that the customer just switched out, and I've got a thing. I think $300, I mean, you have to do what's relative to you. What would make you move? What would make you get off the couch? I don't think we ask ourselves that enough. Filling my gas tank, that's probably not going to do it. What would get you out of bed today? What wows you? If you want massive action, as Grant Cardone will say, you've got to do massive things. So I throw out $300. That makes me want to go do something.
All right, you heard the man. So start at 300, work your way up. All right. David also said thank you and great answer. All right, last couple of questions we have for you. We might actually end this webinar on time. Okay. This one comes from Bruce. Bruce says, can you recommend a good third-party build your car tool?
Ooh, a third-party build your car tool. And there's probably a lot of them out there. I don't ever usually recommend anything specific. I would certainly go look at, my answer to that would be go to drivingsales.com, look at the reviews. There's over 70 different automotive vendors that are categories that are reviewed on there by dealers such as yourself. I think vendors' opinions are terrible, and that includes me. So I would say, go look and see what other dealers are saying, and driving sales review under category would be the best way to go, and that keeps me out of trouble from giving somebody a free sponsorship. So that's where I would go. I think that's a great forum. I think that gives the dealers an opportunity to voice where they're at, and you're going to see some positive and negative by dealers that are out there with real-world usage. So that's where I would go, drivingsales.com and their category review area.
Great answer. Thank you so much for that, Bill. Bruce, good luck on your hunt. All right, last question comes to you from Howie. He says, Bill showed us some cool software. How do we get them?
Well, look, whoever obviously I would tell you to come to me, but the reality is, your existing vendor partners are a great resource. At least they should be. They should be vendor partners for you. If they're not, then you definitely should be looking somewhere else. And they should be on that cutting edge. So you can certainly reach out to us at eleadcrm.com or just me personally, Bill W. at eleadcrm.com. I can certainly give you a lot of references, even our own stuff. But there are a lot of great resources out there. Your first place should be your current provider, and they should be a great technology partner for you. If they don't have those things, then you certainly need to look elsewhere, and we can give you some recommendations on that.
Thank you so much. All right, Howie, good luck on you. Also, last comment came in from Lyle, and he says, the purpose of this seminar was great. Thank you.
Ah, nice job. Good job.
So let's end on that. Bill Wittenmyer, always, always a pleasure to see you live and in person, but also on my DealerOn webinar. So thank you so much for being here again. Love to get you back on the show as quickly as we could.
Thanks so much.
All right, take care. All right, audience, I want to also let you know that a link to download a copy of this webinar recording is going to be emailed to you later today for your reference. Feel free to share it with your friends and colleagues. And today's webinar is also going to be posted online within 24 hours. So just go to dealeron.com/webinars to view our upcoming webinar schedule or access any of our past webinars too. And yeah, this webinar is going to conclude in just a moment. And when it does, you're going to receive a short survey. Well, guess what? We would love to know what you thought of today's presentation, and specifically what you thought about the information that was presented and what you thought about Bill Wittenmyer. All right, so please fill out that survey. It's really short. It's just a few questions. Today we're going to randomly select a couple of people from all those completed surveys to also win some Google prizes. We do really appreciate it when you fill out that survey. Now, invitations will be going out tomorrow for our next DealerOn webinar. Facebook organic reach is dead. 5 tips to succeed in the afterlife. So it's a fact. Today, less than 6% of your Facebook fans actually see your content. In an effort to deliver the most relevant content to each of its 1 billion plus users, Facebook is constantly making adjustments to their newsfeed algorithm. However, as a result of some more recent algorithm tweaks, dealers on Facebook are struggling to reach their own fans. In a digital landscape that evolves at a lightning-fast pace, dealers are having great difficulty rising above the rest, being seen, and translating their social audience into car buyers. Are you one of them? What are you going to do to stay ahead of the social curve? Tim Lage, CEO of Repair Rep, will show you how to find and target your audience on Facebook and track the results of your social efforts. During this eye-opening 1-hour session, attendees will learn how to curate and post engaging content, convert social visits into valuable website leads, provide social customer service to help your reputation, boost service lane traffic and revenue with Facebook, and use Facebook advertising to hyper-target and retarget local customers. And as a bonus, you're also going to learn what the social network big brands are using today to successfully get 100% organic reach. Facebook organic reach is dead. So if you want to learn 5 tips to succeed in the afterlife, then this is one webinar you simply can't afford to miss. So don't forget, DealerOn's weekly webinars are held Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Mountain, and 9 a.m. Pacific. And if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions regarding these webinars and our topics, feel free to contact me directly. Again, my name is Eliana Raggio. I love hearing from you. So track me down online. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, all the automotive social networks, or you can email me directly at eliana@dealeron.com. Thank you so very much for spending this time with us today, and I hope to see you all on another webinar in DealerOn's continuing education series. Take care.